Is that the motion be agreed to. I call the member for, the Parliamentary Secretary.
Thank you, Acting Madam Deputy Speaker. Nelson Mandela needs no title. He needs no introduction. He is a household name right across the globe. His is a name etched in our history, in our memory and in our hearts forever. His was a vision of freedom, of equality, of justice. His was a vision which united a country, a deeply troubled and divided country, and his is a name and a legacy which gave birth to the Rainbow Nation we know today as the modern South Africa, a vibrant, whilst it's still at times troubled nation, but nonetheless a united country going forward as one. To the world, he was the iconic Mandela, but to his beloved Rainbow Nation, he was Madiba. He was one of them. He was their leader. He fought the apartheid regime and he won. His was a South African nation made better, much better, more equal and more historic for his existence, and we should always be grateful for that. The Prime Minister eloquently told the nation last Friday, upon hearing of Nelson Mandela's passing, that he was the father of the modern South Africa, and the Prime Minister was right. Born on the 18th of July 1918, Mandela was born into the Thembu royal family and studied law, becoming a renowned anti-apartheid campaigner. He rose to prominence in 1952 during the African National Convention's Defiance campaign. He was later jailed for treason and spent 27 long, hard years behind bars, all the while believing that the rights of his people in his nation he loved ought to be equal to the white minority. So committed and passionate a believer in equality was he, that he once declared such a mission was a cause for which he was willing to die. During his almost 3 decades behind bars, Mandela and his wife Winnie never lost the faith, never lost sight of their dreams. No one who watched those historic events upon Mandela's release in 1990 will soon forget what a day it was and what it meant for the world. And indeed, television stations right throughout Australia cut programming to cross to South Africa for his long walk to freedom, which back in 1990 was unusual for commercial television stations in Australia to do that. And I remember watching in Wagga Wagga, as I'm sure many of the other members in the chamber here today also watched that historic event. It was such a moment of triumph, of belief that one person could make such a difference. One person could make such a passionate difference to his nation and indeed, through it, to the world. Along with then President Frederick Willem de Klerk, Nelson Mandela was awarded a Nobel Prize for Peace in 1993. Very well deserved. A year later, Mandela was elected President of South Africa, the first black person to have that title in his nation's history. Following the announcement of Mandela's death on Friday morning, Wagga Wagga Wiradjuri man Hewitt Wyman recalled meeting the anti-apartheid campaigner while a member of the Aboriginal Legal Service on Mandela's Australian tour in 1990. We were frightened to approach him, but he put his hand on us. He put out his hand and said, "Talk to me." I was nervous because I was meeting a great man. It was a moment in my life I will never forget, Hewitt recalled just the other day. Nelson Mandela inspired more than a community and more than a nation. He inspired people the whole world over to stand up for what they believe in and to have the courage of their convictions. He was a man who said what he meant and meant what he said. Although on the other side of the world, Hewitt Wyman says he felt a great affinity with Mandela because, like him, Mandela fought for a fairer deal for people. I related to him because he is a black man who served a political prison term because of his beliefs, Hewitt said. He gave me strength to fight for what I believe as a person, the rights of Aboriginal Australians, to achieve good outcomes for our people. My choice was to stay in Aboriginal affairs and to work toward reconciliation, reconciling. The world paused yesterday to remember this great man, this legend. In his South Africa, his Rainbow Nation, which is better for the 95 years Mandela gave to it, and here we lowered our flags to half-mast as a fitting tribute to what he'd done, to what he did for the world. And while we mourn the passing of a legend the likes of which we may not see again in our lifetime, Mandela's is a story which will live on in our hearts and in our minds and in our memories for many, many years to come. Whilst he is consigned to the pages of history, history will remember him very well, as it should. What a man, what a story, what a legacy. Though Nelson Mandela has departed this world for the next, no one will forget, ever forget, the contribution that he made to our world and to our history. He is the father of the modern South Africa, and his is a legacy which will endure for the ages. And just before coming into this Federation chamber to deliver this speech, I bumped into Kay Hull, my predecessor, and she spoke of the inspiration that Nelson Mandela had given her. And Kay is a great fighter for social justice, certainly was in the 12 years that she was the member for Riverina, and her great work in my community goes on. But she told the fact that a prisoner in the garden, one of Nelson Mandela's books, that she got a copy of that biography and had it signed by all the leaders all the national leaders on both sides of the parliament. And she was a little bit worried because her brood of grandchildren is growing and she's only got so many books. But Kay certainly waxed lyrical about the wonderful inspiration that Nelson Mandela had given her in her time as a parliamentarian, and through that inspiration enabled Kay to do the great work that she did on behalf of not just the Riverina, but indeed of our nation as well. Nelson Mandela is gone, sadly gone, but his suffering is over. He has finally freed himself of his shackles, of his earthly shackles, and he has left behind a better world for his living, and may he rest in peace. Thank you, Madam Speaker.